Welcome to another episode of the Independent Thinkers Podcast, where we talk about local life, sports, and politics. I am your host, Tarek Pittman, and today it's a great privilege for me. I have a very special guest. We've known each other for a long time. His brother and myself were classmates, class of '92 at Rocky Mount Senior High. You guys, he is the pastor, the newly installed pastor of the oldest African American church in Rocky Mount, Mount Zion Baptist Church. And today I have with me Pastor Nehemiah Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Great.
The reason why I wanted you on the show is because you're pretty popular. Some might say outspoken in the community, but you have what I call the rallying cry for success: God, family, and community. You live your life through that prism, I should say, based on your actions over the years. Tell the people in the community a little bit about yourself. You know, like I said, I know your brother for my entire life almost. I knew your parents, very, very, very good people within the community. Tell people that may not know Nehemiah's a little bit about Nehemiah's background.
Oh, well, I was born and raised in Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
Ward One.
War One, on Virginia Street, 1620 East Virginia Street. I don't mind giving my address. That's where I live. That's where I lived most of my life. And born, raised here, graduated from Rocky Mount Senior High in 1988.
Yeah,
So I'm
88.
4 years older than you guys.
88, your
The great
quarterback.
class of 88.
Your quarterback in 88. Was that Tom Jones?
Tom Jones was the quarterback in 88.
Tom Jones,
That's right.
yeah.
Tom Jones was the quarterback in 88. I know Tom, and of course, I was classmates with his brother.
Yeah.
Good
baseball players.
Yeah, great baseball players. And so
You went to college. You went to a very popular HBCU.
Morehouse College.
Morehouse College, yeah.
1988. When I left Morehouse College, I went to Grambling State University.
Wow.
And so
I
those
love
are my
that
two.
name.
Yeah, those are my two dream schools. And so had an opportunity to do that. And then when I graduated Grambling, then I left. Then I stayed at Grambling.
Yeah.
I worked at Grambling for a while in the Office of Communications and Public Relations.
Wow.
Under Mrs. Vicki Jackson. Then I moved, of course, to New Orleans. Moved from New Orleans back to Grambling. Grambling to Miami, Miami to New Jersey. So I moved around and experienced different things, different cultures, different people, which my parents were always talking to us about, experiencing things, and
They were both educators, right?
both. Yeah, my father worked at OIC. Yeah. He was assistant executive director at OIC after he got out of the military. Yeah. He had a career in the United States Marine Corps. Yeah. And then he came, once he retired, he started working with Mr. Willie Powell.
Yeah.
Mr. Willie Powell brought him on. And so you'll find a lot of people, and I still get that today, a lot of people in the community still talk about my dad and how they got their first job. He was the guy that did was job development. Then later on, the assistant executive director there. Then, of course, later became a member of the school board, the Rocky Mount City Schools School Board. And later on was one of the architects of the Nash Rocky Mount system. Yep. And then was on the Nash Rocky Mount School Board. I think he was president of the Nash Rocky Mount School Board, and then went on to be president of the North Carolina School Board Association.
Incredible.
So he did a lot, in his life, and then my mother, of course, was one of the great teachers. I'm not just saying this because she's my mom, but that her record shows, everywhere she went, she got results.
Well loved, well loved,
right?
Well loved, and they had no problem with telling you what was on her mind in a very educated, straightforward manner. You know?
My brother we talk about my parents all the time. My father died, of course, in 2015. My mother died 3 years later in 2018. But they were great people. They were trendsetters for their generation. When my father and mother, when they first got married, in 1963. My father told they were living in an apartment, and my father told my mother, "I'll be here for 18 months, and then we're gonna get a house."
Yeah.
And she said, "We can't get no house. We just got married." Da, da, da. My dad said, "No, I'm not used to renting from nobody.
Yeah.
I'm used to having my own. I come from Butte, got my own." So my father was not from here. My mother was from here. She was in South Rocky Mount
Yeah.
on Smith Street.
Yeah, I
Married
know
to
exactly
Smith,
what it's at. Yeah.
312 Smith Street.
Yeah.
Only house still standing in that block.
Wow. Yeah.
And my father was from Wallace, North Carolina, in Duplin County, and they met on a blind date. And after the first date, my father told my mother he was gonna marry her.
Wow.
And my mother was like, "Oh, he crazy. He gonna go out to Vietnam. I won't hear from him again." But of course, 50 some years later, they were still married.
Wow.
So when you go 18 months later, my parents moved out, had built a house, moved into the house in 1965.
Wow. Same house on
The
Virginia
same house
Street.
on Virginia Street now.
Wow, yeah.
And that house on Virginia Street is the oldest house in the Mayview community.
Wow.
It's
So
older than any other. You could see from there all the way out to 64.
wow, you sure can. Think about it.
With
Yeah.
King Circle, all that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And the only other house that was there at the time was Reverend George Dudley's house, because I grew up right beside George Dudley, who was the former pastor of Mount Zion.
Right.
So, and the person who brought Martin Luther King Jr. here to speak, and where a king made the first incarnation of "I Have a Dream."
Right. Lincoln Park, right?
No.
No. Booker T.
Booker T.
Yep.
And I think did something also at Mount Zion.
Yeah.
But the recorded one, of course, was at Booker T. And that's, but you could see all the way from where we lived all the way out. And then after that, that community started to grow.
Wow.
But 1620 is the oldest house in that community.
That's amazing.
Built in that community.
That's amazing. You have always been kind of forward thinking when it comes to the African American community.
Correct.
Was that something? I know it had to be something that I could imagine your dinner table as a kid. You know, both parents are quote unquote what we call woke, and instilling that knowledge in you and Jock, and because Jock was a fighter. It's amazing. We were growing up. We were a couple of probably one of the only 2 or 3 African American males that took accelerated classes as kids. Very intelligent guy, my whole life, but he was a fighter for rights. You know,
It still is.
yeah, still is.
Very much is.
Very tall guy, very educated guy. You know, had no problem in putting any teacher in their place, not from a disrespectful standpoint, but just a matter of respect. You know, and
The history teacher like that one.
yeah. So was that something that was, you know, instilled in you guys by your parents through conversations over the years as kids growing up?
Well, you know, I know everybody feels they have the best parents.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe my brother and I had the best parents ever. Our parents always instilled in us, before the grace of God, that could be you.
Yeah.
So education was important.
Yeah.
Having that relationship with God was important.
Yeah.
Family, those things were important. They were core values that we had.
Yeah.
So, you know, in my house, somebody said to me recently, said, you one erudite guy.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, in my house, we had thesaurus, unabridged dictionaries. You could never ask me, "Dad, how do you spell this? What do you think I bought these dictionaries for? What do you think I got these thesaurus for?" So we had to do that type of thing. We you know, I was a voracious. I still in some, not as voracious as I was when I was a kid, but I was a voracious reader.
Yeah.
And I love the written word. I guess that's what kind of steered me towards English and that type of thing.
What did you like the most? To read the most? Did you like books? Obviously, you know, you read the Bible. You were very well versed in it. Did you like books? Because I'm an articles guy. Like as a kid
I'm a
growing
books
up,
guy.
I was a newspaper guy.
I was a books guy. I was a newspaper guy. I was an articles guy. Anything that had to do with words, you know, I was on it. I need to know, what does this mean? The English language is beautiful because it's a conglomeration. It's really a gutter language because it's a conglomeration of many different languages.
Correct.
And then our phrasing, bad can mean good, good can mean bad. You know, those type of things really, and how how we phrase things and put things together.
Yeah.
So I was always interested in words.
Yeah.
I do a lot of writing now.
Yeah.
My brother said, "You got so much writing, you should put together a book." And I, more than likely, one day I probably will. But I love the written word. I love. So I'm an articles guy. I like to read articles, newspaper, books. I'm a books guy. At one time I was on a kick where I was reading 3 books at a time.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm so busy, I don't get that chance to do that. But I've always said that that's what I'm going to go back to do, getting 3 books. I think that everybody should have something that they love to read.
Now, there's 3 books. I always, my friends and I used to get in this conversation where we would have to list in business, people would ask us, okay, look, what's your Bible? And I was like, what do you mean, King James? Or, what do you mean? It's like, no. What were the 3 books that kind of transform your life that even now you can mentally, because those 3 books, you remember them like the back of your hand, but you can continue to draw from those books today and some of life experiences? What were those 3 books to you?
The first one would have to be the autobiography of Frederick Douglass. That would be one.
I like that too.
The other would be probably Black Power by Kwame Ture.
Yeah.
And the last and most important book, that is, if I were going to have a secular Bible, would be The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual by Harold Cruz.
I haven't read that.
Yeah, you get that. So I read that. I read that every so many years, where I go back and I read it again, and it means something different. When I first read it, I was 15 years old. My parents had a copy of it, and like I said, I'd pick up anything and read it. So I was reading, I was looking at it, and I was like, okay. Some of the things I understood, some of the things I didn't. Then I read it again, but it was so fascinating to me that I knew I had to read it again. So when in my 20s I read it again.
Then it started to click.
Then it started to click, and then I took it and I did a paper on it in college. Then I continued. That is a book that I keep. It's in my office right now.
Tethered up, or
this is a newer one, because the one that I used to lend my stuff. Hey, look, man, read this. Got away from it, man. I was like, man. So then I had to go buy another one. So this is this might be my 3rd copy. But this one doesn't get away from me. But I go back and I read it probably every 2 or 3 years. I go back and reread. Incredible. And it is as relevant now as it was when Cruz initially wrote it.
Incredible.
This is relevant.
Speaking of writing, you were, probably still is, because every so often I know you like to still put it out. You were the creator and editor of, I don't want to be wrong, because I remember you and I spoke about it before. Was it the first the only African-American newspaper in the state of North Carolina or Eastern North Carolina?
No, it was the largest geographically. African-American. It was the first African-American paper in Rocky Mount.
The Weekly Defender.
The Weekly Defender. Now, they used to, of course, get the Journal and Guide here because it was Mr.
That still comes out now.
Yeah, Journal and Guide still comes out of Norfolk, I think. Mr. Herron, Mr. J.B. Herron, he put it out, and he was the one that distributed it. But it wasn't from Rocky Mount. I had the first Black newspaper in the city. And it's on hiatus right now, but we're gonna bring it back. It's the time for it. And after my mother passed, I really kind of lost.
Sports happened to me the same way.
The thing,
you lose a loved one. It's kind of they're your muse or inspiration or whatever.
Right. But now, when you look at what's going on around us, social unrest and what's going on with COVID and what's happening in our communities, we just have to. It needs to be back. We need to bring that Black newspaper, that Black media back into it.
It was well informed. I mean, it kept you. I had so many people. I remember I got an ad in there. And I had people thanking me. Yeah, like I was shocked. I hadn't been too long. Got back to Rocky Mount. When I
Right.
got back to Rocky Mount, you said you welcomed me back, and I got. You was like, "Look, we put an ad in the paper." I
And
was
you
like,
would
"All
get
right,
more
yeah."
business you can handle.
Yeah, yeah,
I told you,
yeah.
I said, this is what's
You know
going to
what I'm
happen.
saying?
This is what's
Yeah, you
gonna
know,
happen.
the people was thanking me, like, thank
Yeah.
you for doing that. And that was a great feeling, you know, and I didn't do it because I did it because, you know, I wanted to support my brother,
Right.
you know, yeah,
Yeah,
what he was
you
doing.
want to be supportive, and there's some things that that we have to understand about what it means when we say Black Lives Matter.
Yeah,
It is more than a slogan.
You did a sermon.
I
I'm gonna
did.
get into that. And
I
you
did a
know,
few.
to be honest with you, it was one of the best counter arguments that I had heard against people who are against the movement, and that's real. From newspaper articles that I read, and you know, I was trying myself. I knew how I felt, and I was trying myself to figure out how to put that out. You know, because sometimes I could be in a precarious position where you know. You're independent and you're in the middle sometimes. You know, you always sometimes have to think, but it was refreshing to hear, you know, and where you came from with it was, I believe it was Second Corinthians. I think it was verse 8 and 9. I think I
Okay.
remember. Yeah, Paul. It was about Paul,
Mhm.
and you used the context of the Bible at that particular time to describe the movement and describe the history of Black lives in America. I thought it was a poignant speech, man.
Is necessary
Yeah.
if we are commissioned, if we say that we are commissioned by God to speak truth to power. We not only have to speak truth to power, but we have to speak with power the truth. And we cannot allow anyone outside of our community to define what Black Lives Matter is. We have to define what it is. We have to say,
Leave it in there because whoever this is called me. I want them to see that they interrupted my podcast. I apologize. Go ahead.
but we have to say what it is. And it is not the organization. I have some serious issues with the organization.
Yeah, that was the
That's
thing
serious.
that you and I, we everybody does. There's not too many people that's African American that do not.
I have some issues with the organization.
When I read that thing, man, I was like,
Wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. So what happens is we have people outside of our community who are trying to redirect the conversation and to really reform the narrative or give another narrative as to what Black Lives Matter is.
Correct.
Black Lives Matter was born out of the Trayvon Martin incident.
Yeah.
The movement was,
Yeah.
as was the organization.
Yeah.
But the movement and the organization are diametrically different things. Altogether. They're two different things altogether. So I am not a supporter of the organization.
Yeah.
I am a supporter of the movement.
Yeah.
Then now that you know, and they've come with different things. Oh, they're anarchists.
Yeah,
They're this, they're
Marxists and
that.
all
People
that.
are talking about the organization. Right. Yeah, they're Marxism. And then I want when people start throwing out these terms, define Marxism.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is.
Yeah.
I even heard the people in the organization say we are trained Marxists,
Yeah.
and then I knew that they were that something was
crazy.
wrong. But and the reason why I say that, Tarek, is because first of all, Karl Marx and Joseph Engels did not view black people as on the same level as whites.
Right. It's not a class system.
Right. People need to read those things. So if you are outside, if you're not black or white, and you're trying to tell me that I'm Marxist or this is Marxist, first of all, I'm not Marxist because Engels and Marx, they didn't even like black folks.
That's correct.
They didn't consider me this. The second thing is, if I'm black and trying to define myself as Marxist, I'm crazy too, because they didn't like black people.
That's right.
Engels and Marx didn't like black people.
The class system to keep black people
down, So I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is foolish. This is crazy. These people come up here. It's that red herring, what I call red herring talk.
Yeah.
They throw the stuff out there. People have a limited or no understanding of what these terms mean. And they're
They're
Marxists.
Marxists and they
They're
jump
Marxists.
on it. Or it's
But
racist.
those same people, you
Yeah.
can ask them to define Marxists. And there's who was the main proponent, who was the guy that came up with Marxism. They'll probably tell you Groucho Marx. They don't even know, they try to tell you Groucho. Well, no, that wasn't who it was.
right
But
about that.
anyway, I see where you are now. So
It's amazing that you see that rhetoric try to take legs, man, and throughout the community. And that's why it was so refreshing for me to hear you talk about it,
and what kills me is that black people take it up and say it and run with it.
Yeah.
Man, you do the research before you take some white man's definition of what the movement is and who you are. I see things from an Afrocentric, and then from an Afrocentric standpoint, and then people want to get on me. Well, you're racist. You're causing the discord. Well, you continue, the wound is there, and you're continuing to exacerbate what's going on. And I say to them, no, I'm just calling it out for what it is.
Yeah.
And you want me to heal at the same time that I'm getting shot 7 times in the back? I can't heal because you keep killing me.
All right.
I can't heal. I can't even come and sit down and talk to you because the very people that you want me to sit down and talk with are the same people that's choking me out for selling illegal cigarettes.
Correct.
These are the same people that'll shoot me in the back while my kid's in the car.
Yeah.
To see that. These are the same people that are kicking down the door at my house looking for somebody and got the wrong house and killed me.
Yeah.
So you want me to do what now? Go somewhere and sit down and miss me with that. Miss me with that, and I'm unapologetic about it. We for too long we have apologized for being black.
Yeah.
I'm not going to apologize for being black. I'm not going to apologize for standing up for people that look just like me. I'm not going to do that. And I can still do that and still be Christian. I can still do that and still be within the body of Christ. I can do all of that. All of that works together.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so if you don't understand my pain, or it's not so much you don't understand the pain, you don't want to understand. Right. It's what I called in that sermon willful ignorance.
Yeah, I saw that.
You were willfully ignorant to what's going on around me, and willful ignorance is stupidity.
Yeah, that's correct.
What about that part?
I don't. As black men, I don't think people. I don't think they just don't. It frustrates me that some don't get it.
It is frustrating, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
When you have been indoctrinated into a system, when you have been taken from your land, when your name has been taken, your religion has been taken, your belief system has been taken, when you are beat down constantly, we have been brainwashed. And so now what happens is that we are trying to come out of that. You're trying to come out of that system, being a part of that system. You're trying to find some independence. And then in the process, somebody tells you, well, you're less than, you're not this and you're not that. You don't have the same rights as everybody else. And as you know, in that sermon.
Yeah, you talked about the Dred Scott.
I talked about Dred Scott.
Yeah.
Dred Scott, 1852?
Yeah.
You're looking at 163 years or 18, something like that, around that time. In 163 years, no, 1857. Yeah. In 163 years, Dred Scott has never been overturned. So anybody that's out there in the podcast, you want to watch that, look that up. That's not a Google thing.
Right.
That's the fact that I've done the research, I've done the reading, and this was prior to what's going on now.
Yeah.
We are talking about taking down monuments. Those monuments should be taken down. Yeah. I believe they should because we're honoring losers. We're honoring second place. We're honoring people that wanted to keep black people in a certain status.
Right.
And yet,
what do you say to the people that say, "Get over it"? That was a part of history. We should move on from that. We shouldn't focus on monuments. What do you say to people? Because I hear that from both sides. I've heard that from both sides. I got some nasty messages, man. When
Germany they were the losers
You're right.
in World War II.
You don't see a Hitler monument
Do
up
you see a
there?
Hitler monument anywhere? Do you see
No.
Nazi monuments anywhere?
No.
In
No.
Germany?
No.
You don't see those. They were losers. They lost.
Right.
Mussolini lost. Do you see monuments?
Right.
Japan lost.
Right.
Do you see monuments in those places?
No.
No, you don't. And so why are we going to honor something that, first of all, is a stain on American history, and you want to continue to keep the stain there?
Yeah.
Second thing is that the reason why I talked about Dred Scott in that piece, in that sermon, was because 163 years, you never overturned it.
3/5 of a man.
We are still, according to the law, 3/5 of a person.
Incredible.
America has never recognized our personhood. Of course, we recognize it. We know who we are and what we are. Right. But the law has never. We hold the distinction of being the only people in the United States that it took a law in order for us to be able to be citizens.
Incredible.
Huh? All right. So we are 3/5. We are inferior beings. I'm talking not from my perspective. I'm talking about from Taney, the Chief Justice Taney. We are inferior beings that we don't have any rights that the white man should ever have to allow or honor. Therefore, we still, people, as great as America is, it is too an oxymoron.
Yeah, correct.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, secure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and they go through all of that. Yeah. And then you go further down in the document, and they say, but these people here are 3/5 of a person. Say what? So you're saying I got arms, legs, eyes, I bleed just like you bleed, but guess what? But I'm not a person. I'm 3/5 of a person. So
I'll take your arm, your leg,
all that. We still looking for our other 2/5, according to American. And so it has never been rescinded. If we want, to me, that is the one monument that needs to come down out of all others. We need to demand.
What do they say? How do you feel about when white people say that this is a part of our history, this is our heritage? They're destroying and it shocked me. I'm a big Louis Farrakhan listener. I've always, since I was a little kid, I've always loved his speeches, you know, and I always agree with everything, but a lot of it is real, you know, and when I was shocked when his argument was to let them alone, leave those statues alone, and because it's a part of American history. It represents, America, and we're getting upset. We as black people are getting upset about an object. What do you feel? What are you doing?
Well, my brother and I disagree. My brother says leave them up too.
Yeah.
He said because it's not our shame, it's theirs.
Yeah.
Leave them up so that when you go by, you can tell your son or your daughter or your grandson or your granddaughter, oh yeah, that's a monument to a loser. Yeah. And this is what they were trying to do. Because my brother's contention is that if you take it down, it's forgotten. Yeah. But the mentality is still there.
It can grow stronger sometimes.
And it grows stronger.
Yeah.
This country is in a bad way.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And they'll say that a person like me is the reason why it's still in a bad way.
Yeah.
Because I won't let it go.
But you know how contradictory that is? Like I tell my white friends all the time. I say, the thing that bothers me about your argument is that a lot of you support Trump. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're like, it's okay for him to exhibit certain types of negative characteristics and all that. Mm-hmm. But when you see that from the other side, you're quick to come out and condemn it.
Goes back to Dred Scott. You're still 3/5 of a person. Yeah. You're an inferior being. So they don't respect your personhood. They don't look at you as a person. The reason why a car can be cavalier and go and shoot a man 7 times in the back with the kids in the car, because he didn't see him as a person. He was just 3/5. He was an object. He was merchandise
Yeah.
that has been liberated physically,
Yeah.
and that has been allowed the rights of a citizen,
Right.
those rights that can easily be taken back.
Right.
Because somebody could come along, some slick lawyer could come along and say, hey, well, guess what? According to Dred Scott ain't overturned, so they still 3/5 of a person. How you allow these people to have this? And people say, oh, that wouldn't happen. You're crazy. That wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You said that you wouldn't gut the Voting Rights Act, but it's gut.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
who would have ever thought that we would be in a situation like COVID?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But we're here.
189,000 people dead.
Yeah. So, my thing is whatever can happen will happen.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that we should be, along with saying Black Lives Matter, we should also be saying hashtag, and I'm against these hashtag revolutionaries, but we should be fighting for the overturning of Dred Scott decision.
Correct.